So once again, thank you for joining me here live to share about cacao alchemy. And I'll share today a little bit about the cacao spirit, a little bit about my story with cacao as well. And we'll share group meditation as well to connect with the cacao deva, the cacao spirit as well, which I feel really is most fundamental to working with any plant medicine. And it's something that is often forgotten as well, which is why I feel that this particular course and this webinar are that bit different. So some of you have already joined me in some cacao ceremonies. Some of you might be new. Some of you might just be interested in meeting Mama Cacao for your own practice, for your own self-care. And some of you may be feeling that actually you would like to work towards working with Mama Cacao as a co-facilitator, as I like to put it, for your own ceremonies, workshops, therapy, creations, whatever it may be. There's lots that I could go into a little bit later on about how she can work with us. But first of all, before we really begin, I'd just like to call us all in. I'm calling in our guides, our spirit animals, our higher selves, to be in this space, bringing us into the here and the now, the present moment, welcoming us into the heart space, into the body space, and into this sacred space that we'll be in together for the next hour. So we can be open to meet with the cacao deva, cacao spirit. I call in the directions of east, south, west, north, above, below, and center, to bring their love, their healing, their guidance, their wisdom and protection into this space. I call upon the wisdom of the spirit of cacao to be with us. I'm calling her into this space, connecting to her through our hearts, connecting to the land that we're on here and now, to the land that she comes from, the Mayan lands, Guatemala, Mexico, the Aztecs, the Incans in Peru, and the other lands like Colombia and Ecuador, as well as Bali, where she also grows. Today I'll be mostly focusing on connecting with the Mayan wisdom of cacao. That's the one that I'm most strongly aligned with, have the most experience with. And connecting in with the Mayan wisdom also. There's a lot of similarities connecting in with the Celtic wisdom, connecting in with the fire of the heart, the connection with nature, with spirit, with the food of the gods. Helping to bring our awareness into the heart space, into the body space, into our spirit. So, Mama Cacao, some of you know, is revered very strongly with the Mayan tradition. I mentioned also the Aztec and the Incans. But in Mayan traditions is a very, very sacred medicine. So it's not like the chocolate bar, the Cadbury's dairy milk that you would find in the supermarket, which is a very watered down, over-cultivated version. This is a pure cacao that still is grown in the jungle with indigenous families that take care of their cacao trees every day, praying to them, honoring them, because she provides them so much sustenance, not only at a level, a spiritual level, but also connecting them to each other, the love medicine that she is. So connecting in community around the fire, where often people would put beans into the fire with prayers. She would also have been used as a currency in the past. So a currency that was worth way more than gold. So also connecting us to that sense of abundance of Mother Nature, that we always have everything that we need. And I really feel that although there's an ancient history with this medicine and much of it has been lost, she's really coming to us in this time as a bit of an explosion, a cacao explosion, probably one of the nicest explosions there could be, into the world with her love medicine. She's come to burst our hearts open. She's come to help us to connect back to our heart space. As in the Western world, we're often very fragmented and spending too much time in the mind. She helps us to clear the mind, to bring clarity, and to drop into the wisdom of the heart space and into the wisdom that we hold also in our gut and our belly. So all three brains are connected, the mind, the heart, and the belly, connecting all the neurotransmitters, helping to activate the nervous system, but with there's a solidity there as well. There's a calm nature to it because it's opening up the heart space, burning away any of the old patterns that don't serve us, and softening in to the belly as well, into the emotions, into the feelings that may be stuck, that may want to be heard, that may want to feel the love from our heart trickle down into our belly space. So she contains many, many chemicals that affect our serotonin levels, dopamine levels. It affects our endorphins as well. Oxytocin, which is the love chemical. So my two favorites are the oxytocin and the anandamide. So ananda is a joy or bliss chemical that activates in our heart. So she's working very much on an energetic level, but also on a very chemical level in our bodies as well. So she also helps us to detoxify the liver, to detoxify the digestive system, and really, really move through our blood, our circulation as well, to get that heart fire going into every cell. So we can work with her with meditation, with yoga, qigong, with movement. So she can be used in many ways of bringing us into stillness, but also bringing us into flow, into movement, and having the dance in between those two. She can open us up, as I said, into the feelings, into the emotions, into the child self, into the shadow self, softening around the egoic self, accepting that part of ourselves as our human part. That's very, very necessary, and it's there to support us. So in Celtic tradition, we call it the earth mind, and it's there for a very specific purpose, to keep us safe. But she helps us to soften into those parts that we may have put into exile, that we may feel like we're not ready to meet yet. when we are ready to meet that, she will guide us there. She will open the door. It's up to us to go through that door and to meet those parts of ourselves. She does in a very loving, gentle way, but there's still a lot of power behind her, a lot of life force, a lot of chi, as she's so close to the earth. So she could be seen as the foot of the gods, the foot of the earth, the blood of the earth, the heart of the earth. And the heart of the earth is very interesting, as if we look at the Mayan lands, that's in the center of the planet Earth that we live on. So this medicine is a medicine, the heart medicine, that guides us back to our center, that originates from the center of this planet. Nothing is a coincidence. And of course, I'm not Mayan, so I can't say how the Mayan traditions were and ceremonies were. And unfortunately, similarly to my background, which is Irish, mostly Irish, but also Scottish, a lot of the old ways have been lost. There's still more of a connection there in the Mayan lands to their old ways than there are perhaps in Ireland or Scotland, for instance. However, with industrialization, with colonization as well, colonialization, it's not as prevalent to find the cacao ceremonies now as there were, although they're still, as I say, very much used with the fire ceremonies, with the beans being put into the fire, which is very significant. But there's still a lot there, and it will be shared throughout this course as well, of the cosmology as well, and the relationship to time. And the reason that I mention the relationship to time is that that's partly why I have really taken so much time myself on a personal level to be able to share this with you now. So my connection with cacao started with a cacao ceremony with Anu Tara. And very much at that time as well, she was sharing from a very direct connection, a very authentic connection that she had with cacao then. And at that time, I was just about to, well, I didn't know that time, but I was just about to leave my job, a corporate job, very, very successful marketing and project management career in a very, very successful online tech travel company. I thought, a plan never goes to plan. I thought that I was going to finish maybe at about that time, that would be November 2015. And I thought maybe by April or May, I might then give up that job, because I knew it wasn't serving me anymore. I was just in the middle of a burnout, and I thought, well, financially I'll be more comfortable if I wait until April or May. So that would be the safer option. Even though at that time I was trying to manage a very, very full-on career alongside doing my spirit work. Had finished my shamanic training by that point. And something had to go. And it turned out, lo and behold, that it was time in December 2015 to let it go. And actually it meant, in a way that was with grace and with ease and with abundance, that I had everything that I needed financially to support me to go into my own healing work, to deprogram, decolonize, and dissolve myself after that long career into what would become my full-time, I guess, mission, I suppose, because it's not a career. So in January 2016, then I did a dieta, an online dieta actually, with cacao, led by Anu. And that was my first introduction to dieta. That was 10 days. And when I was doing that 10-day dieta, it was just for me. So I took myself into isolation for those 10 days, took it very seriously, and thought that was for me, for my own healing, my own connection to cacao medicine, because I really felt a very strong connection to her. But absolutely nothing in me was saying, yes, I'm going to run cacao ceremonies. That was not the intention that I went in with at all. And it turned out about 3 days or 4 days into it, she really took me strongly into my shadow self, into parts that traumas and things like that I hadn't even realized were there. So she really, really took me through the runner, through grief, through rage, through the whole spectrum of my stuff. So it was only when I got to about day 6 or 7 that I started to realize that, oh, she's got a plan for me. I see. And it was very clear to Anu at the time as well that, well, she knew the whole time that that was what was going to happen. But ignorance is a great thing. And so I finished the dieta, and it was only a few months later, after still just connecting on a personal level with her, my own personal ceremonies, rituals, practice, with body work, with yoga, with movement, with shamanic journeying, with various tools that I had at the time, before I got asked to then start sharing ceremonies. So I started sharing some small circles with some groups that I was part of at the time, and then started then offering as part of my forte or mission, whatever you would call it. Then I started to offer group ceremonies to the public. And she really, really helped me to move forward with my path. And I feel a deep, deep gratitude to her for that, because it felt like I had a co-facilitator with me and I wasn't doing it all on my own. And she helped me to open up more and more and more into my heart space and become more and more confident to allow the flow, the creativity to move through in that space as well. So when I first started some ceremonies, I would have like this list of like the time and then what we would do. And I would have this like playlist to begin with, you know, for journeying or whatever, or the movement, whatever it may be. And that really served me well. And I don't discount that as a good way of starting out. But it didn't take too long before I was able to leave that. It's a little bit like when you're maybe not so used to public speaking and you have a script. But that's not really how ceremony works. And it did work beautifully because it was allowing, it had a structure to it that still allowed the flow within it. But it took its time to evolve. When soon that script, that structure disappeared, and every single ceremony was very, very different. So it allowed me to open up a lot more to my creativity of not just having, oh, well, this is just a cacao ceremony. It actually became, well, this is a cacao ceremony that's based on the theme of womb healing, based on the theme of ancestral healing, opening up your creativity, whatever it may be. There's been lots and lots and lots, and I'll probably share a lot of those themes throughout the course as well, to give people a bit of an idea, and to stoke the fire, if it will. But what has really shaped the way that I work with cacao has also been the work that I do with other plant medicines. So that has been by going to Brazil, to Peru, and to Guatemala. Particularly in Peru, where I did actually go into a couple of dietas, specifically in the Shipibo tradition. So learning how to connect with plant spirits in that way over a long period of time in isolation, and this is how this course has come together, really, is based on that the belief is that you need a teacher to guide you, a teacher that has been there and has a relationship, an existing relationship with that plant medicine, in order to guide you. Because when we move into the work of plant medicines, it goes really into the work of the mystery and the unknown. And things can get a bit weird. Things can get like, your stuff can start to come up. You can feel like you're losing, well, I'm just going to say it, you're losing your shit, which is great. Let it all out. You don't want to keep it in there anyway. But it's good to have a guide. It's a bit like having a mentor, somebody that's just, a few steps, preferably more than a few steps ahead of you, that has been through that and knows intimately that plant spirit, so that they can understand how that plant spirit is working with you. So a bit of a bridge, really, between yourself and the plant spirit. But they aren't really teaching you. It is a plant spirit that is teaching you. They're holding the space and guiding that. They're creating that container for that to happen. So that means it's in safety. And so I've also worked with my mentor, Vicky, with the Lotus Consciousness program as well. I assisted with an online plant dieta, which was a much, much more kind of homeopathic, if you will, level of doing a plant dieta online, which means it's not like really, really going into the depths and trawling through the depths like I did with the online one with Cacao or with my ones in the jungle, but in a more gentle way, but still very potent. So stuff still moves through. It's still very transformative, but it's more easy to implement or integrate with your life. So the other aspect of the working with the plant medicine is to open up to receive. So you might have, if you've read a bit about the course, it's opening up to receiving the teachings, receiving the healings, and receiving the messages that come from the plant spirit themselves. And in a society where we have a lot of distractions and an addiction to busyness, is that actually blocks us from connecting not only to our own spirit, to each other, and to plant spirits, and to our guides, and to source. So this really is about creating this container, and this is part of this webinar as a container within the container, if you will. Creating this container, this time, this space to go in and to allow ourselves to open up to what may come, and to open up for that relationship to grow. So another aspect as well is that I went to Guatemala, and I wanted to connect with the Mayans and the Mayan traditions of how to work with the cacao spirit, because by that time I think it'd been about 2 years or something that I've been working with Mama Cacao very authentically, because it was from the heart and connecting with her directly. But I felt that, as what I do with, with going to Brazil and Peru, I felt that I had to connect with that land and directly with the indigenous people as well. I did connect with a now friend and shaman out there that still works with cacao and has a lineage as well with cacao, but there were very, very few indigenous ceremonies left out there. And what it was really like cacao la la land. So some of you might know San Marcos in Guatemala, and that's what I call cacao la la woo woo land. So the woo woo is a woo, basically everything's from the heart upwards, and we take cacao and then we dance, yay, and it becomes a bit like a spiritual drug. And that to me is colonialization, and that is white people coming into this place, not honoring the land, not honoring the medicine, not honoring the indigenous people, and just taking. And that's what's happened to my land in Ireland. So as that, I'm a little bit of the trickster card, if you will, being white, but knowing in my ancestral line very, very deeply in my bones what it is to be colonized, And so whenever I connect with Indigenous people, they see a white person at first, but then we tune in together and they go, oh yeah, okay, we get it. So we have things to share with each other of this is what has been, and this is what is happening now, and this is how we can work together to help to prevent that happening, to help to keep that wisdom going, and to always honor where it comes from. So always honoring the roots. And so I learned a lot about how not to hold cacao ceremonies, mostly in San Marcos, and what was really the reflection, which I was very, very grateful for and very humbled by, was that I was already doing it as it should be, you know, in alignment, in authenticity, in the way that she wants to work through me. And that's what I want to really hold for other people connecting with her, is finding their own way in an authentic way, rather than trying to push an agenda on or how it should be, or even trying. And it's very interesting as well, because of my Celtic lineage, you know, we can try and replicate what had been, but we are in the here and now, so we cannot completely replicate what that was. And also it's not necessarily relevant for where we are here today. So it might not resonate with us, we might not understand it, and it might have had its time, but now it's this time. So it's very important not to just throw that away. It's very important to honor what has been, and then take it into the here and the now, into the present, so that we have that touch point, if you will, that connection, rather than just trying to totally the colonialization approach. Oh well, we're here now and this is the way it's going to be. So it's very, very important when we're connecting with these plant medicines to really connect from the heart, and to be aware of the colonialized patterns that we all have as Westerners, and it's something that we always have to be aware of and to work through the various levels of patterning and conditioning that we have So that kind of thing of, just because I can buy it, therefore I can have it. But that's not a possession, and we can never possess a plant medicine, because it's a spirit in itself. So it's a relationship with that plant medicine. That's really important. So with that in mind, if you find yourself into a comfortable seated position with your back straight, I'm just going to get my drum. And we'll see what comes through today. Maybe about 10 minutes, 15, to connect with the spirit of cacao. And this is very important to mention as well, is that we don't necessarily have to ingest the cacao to meet with the spirit of cacao. And so I often have people that come to my cacao ceremonies that maybe they're on antidepressants, antipsychotics, or maybe they have heart conditions, or for various reasons they cannot take the cacao. But they can certainly come into the container, the sacred space, and connect with the cacao spirit. And so it's also important to work in different ways that we feel confident in connecting with her without necessarily ingesting. Although it's definitely helpful, it's not essential. And the more and more that you connect with the medicine, the less and less you actually need to take. So it's grounding into the sit bones, the feeling of the earth below you. Taking a few breaths Breathing into any mental agitation, tension, and breathing out with a sigh. Taking a few breaths like that. Breathing in to any emotions that you may be feeling right now. And letting it out with the out breath. A few breaths like this. Then breathing into any tension that you may feel in the body space. Breathing into that area, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just keep connected to the breath and the sound of the drum. Calling you in to the heart space. Making an intention from your heart. Connect with Mama Cacao. Ish Cacao. Honoring her spirit. Honoring what messages, healing, teaching she may have to share with you. Connecting with your roots once again, sit bones into the feet. As if you're sitting at the bottom of a cacao tree in the jungle, in the Mayan lands. Feeling the warmth and the moisture of the soil beneath you. As your roots connect to her roots. On your back, spine, sitting against the trunk. Feeling her warmth and her support behind you. And above, into the branches, the leaves, the pods. The pods contain the cacao fruit, the cacao beans, like the elixir of life. hang down above your head. Feel the warmth, the nourishment, and the support as her sap moves from the soil, the roots, into the trunk. Rise up into the leaves, the branches, the fruit. Just like the blood in your body. Connecting your heart to her heart. Indigenous woman comes to you, Mayan lady. She offers you some of the cacao beans. You have 3 beans. One putting into the earth under the tree. One giving back to the lady who brought you this precious gift. And one place in your mouth, absorbing the sacred medicine into your bloodstream, into your digestive system. So it flows through all the fluids in your body. The elixir of life. to the awareness, the heart space. So your heart beats with her heart. As her heart beats with the heart of the earth. Through her, finding your own rhythm, your own flavour. Your authenticity, your integrity, your love. And back into the body space, noticing the taste in the mouth, the smell of the air, the sounds around you, the sound of my voice. Calling you back into the space, into the here and the now. Keeping the eyes closed, wiggling the fingers and the toes. Maybe allowing yourself a bit of a movement, a bit of a stretch. And when you're ready, just gently open your eyes, allowing them to adjust to the light. And thanking the Cacao Deva, Ish Cacao, for what she's shared with you in your heart. And I don't know about you, but she never ceases to amaze me of the depth of what she can share, even in a short space of time. And so I'd like to speak for a few moments as a little quick intro into the upcoming Cacao Alchemy course. And I know that some of you have already signed up and are joining, so thank you and welcome. So any of you that may have questions, whether you've already joined or you're thinking about joining, I'll invite questions in a few moments. But essentially, with this online course is level 1, and I felt it much more gentle than doing, say, like a 10-day online dieta. To do it over a longer stretch of time, even though 5 weeks is a very short space of time, but allowing this set time and space of a container for you to connect with her in your own way. So that we'll go through various modules and various levels from the ground up, if you will, so that it will allow you to have these different touch points with her in your own practice and your own life, so that that can something that can gestate and carry through, and that may be enough for you. And after that period of time, you may feel like actually you want to do more, and then there will be another course later on, which will be the level 2, which will be the practitioner course. So that'll be more preparation for working with it in a therapeutic context, whether it's with yoga, movement, ceremonies, with healing modalities, with art therapy, and breath work, whatever it may be. But as I mentioned before, my own personal story, and also observing over the years with many others, both with general plant medicines, but also with cacao specifically, is that this foundation is so important for your connection first and foremost, and your self-care and your cultivation of your self-love, and her as your guide in that is really what, don't know why it says that, that's what's coming through anyway, I'll share. That's what cuts the mustard. So when I have shared my cacao ceremonies, many people are really taken aback, and there could be people that have been to many cacao ceremonies before. And the reason that they're taken aback is because of the strength of the depth that the spirit is coming through. And that is because I don't take any credit for that. That's her. But she's allowed to come through properly because she's honored and she's respected. And that I have developed that relationship with her so that she can come through as fully, as completely as she wishes. And so it can be really, you know, one ceremony could be really, and it's similar with the week as well, you know, with this course as well. You know, sometimes it could be really light and really blissful and just really juicy and joyful. And then sometimes it can be really going into the depths and really going through it a little bit, of like meeting those hard edges, but learning to meet those hard edges with love, with softness. And that can only really be done safely and authentically by spending the time to create the time, a bit like having a date with you and her of like, this is our time, okay, we're going to get it on. Do with me what you will. So surrender as much as possible is always a really beautiful way of working with plant medicines as well, because they're our ancestors. They came long before us and know way more than we do. And so the more that we can meet them with that grace and with that humility, the more that they will share with us. And nature is so beautiful and so abundant, and particularly Mama Cacao, that they want to share with us. Like, they want to join the party. They want to also have a bit of experience of the human experience as well. And that's something that we forget, is that it's this two-way street. It's like, it's not just about our experience. We're like little children sometimes, again, this westernized, colonialized stuff. It's like, but it's all about me, and it's all about what I will get and what I experience. It's like, hold on a minute, there's a whole other being here. So it's really, I feel like, as much as you can connect with the plant spirit like you would with a human. Like I've always said as well, it's like when you go to meet a tree, why don't you ask the tree before you just go and plonk yourself there? The tree might be having a bad day. It's very unusual that a tree would say no, because as I say, nature is so abundant and does want to share and does want to be acknowledged. So even the fact that you're acknowledging that there is actually another being there, they're like usually quite like, oh yes, please do sit here. They very often will want to engage with you, but there's also the fact that sometimes they don't. And sometimes, for instance, there's certain places that I know where I would go into a woodland and go, okay, I don't really feel so welcome here. And that's because usually, because humans have gone and cut down a lot of trees around that area. And so the tree spirits and the nature spirits are very, quite rightly, quite resistant. That's not quite the word that I mean, but you know what I mean? They're not really like, you know, it would be the same as if we were people, you know, that have been invaded by another people. And if these other people come into our land, they'd be a bit like, what are you doing here? Kind of thing, or like, you don't belong here kind of thing. So it's, and in that case, it's again, it's about honoring and saying, oh, well, thank you, I'm sorry, and maybe place some offerings and walking somewhere else, so that where you do feel that lightness again, where you do feel that welcome. And it might be that over time that changes. So that I'm talking a wee bit into earth keeping, so I'll not go too much into that, but everything kind of weaves in together when you start talking about plant medicine, because you can't talk about the plants without connecting with the land. It's kind of, again, they're very, very connected. So yeah, I'd like to open up to any questions that you may have about the course itself, whether it's a course structure or something that came up for you in this webinar. So if you can either type in the chat box, or even better, which I prefer, is if you can unmute yourself and ask away.
Hi, this is Catherine.
Hello, Catherine.
Hi there. Will you be offering this course at a future date if I'm not able to participate this time round?
Yes, I will. At this point, I'm not sure, because it's going on to a new platform, which is a Lotus Consciousness platform.
Okay.
I suspect it'll probably be on the Lotus Consciousness platform, and pick and choose when you want to join. So I'm still working that out at the moment. Okay. So it will be available not as this held container as it is right now. It'll be available as a container for like you accessing the online resources as and when. And it's the same for people that join this course. They will get both the live container, but they will also be able to work with the resources as and when afterwards as well. So they've always got resources. Yeah. Okay. So it's just depending on a lot of different factors at the minute, Catherine, of whether in the new year we'll have another round of this, or most likely I'll probably have another round of, I'll probably start with a level 2. So the people that have started in level 1 and want to progress have kind of a trajectory there. And I don't know how much capacity I will have to do both at the same time, but at least the resources here will be recorded and will be available for people so they can pick and choose when they're ready.
Thank you. I would really like to do it this time round. I did send you an email about whether it's necessary to do it all within the 5 weeks.
Yes.
And you said that it ideally attends the ceremonies. Is that right? So
yes.
So if I haven't been able, for example, if I haven't been able to complete all of the stuff in week 2, let's say,
yes,
and then I come to the second ceremony, does that matter?
No, not really. I mean,
It's not
it's very
linear like
helpful.
that.
It's very helpful, of course, but this is kind of the way that it's been designed, in a way that people can go at their own pace. And I think
Okay.
that's very, very important when meeting with the plant medicines, that they're not trying to like rush something and like go uphill like we do in
Yeah.
our life so much. It's about
Yeah.
actually creating the time in our own rhythm to find it. So the cacao ceremonies will, often refer to the theme that we've been working on that week.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really necessarily mean that you have to have completed all of the information. And sometimes, I'll be honest, my way of learning is what's called the backwards way of learning, which I learn through experience. I don't learn through like reading resources and different things, but everyone has different ways of learning.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
learn more from attending a ceremony than I would from reading resources, for
Okay.
instance. But it's also about your own practice, so cultivating your own practice with it, and that there will be meditations and things that will be shared that you can pop in, whether it's 20 minutes in a day or something like that. That
Yeah.
you've got a few different touch points every week
Okay.
to work with in your own time. So yeah,
Okay.
up to yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else got a question?
I've got a question.
Yes, Sarah.
On a practical, on a practical level, where one sources cacao,
Mm-hmm.
because I hear it when you say how important it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's sourced properly.
Yes.
This lineage.
Yes. So I have a link, and I'll send them out to everyone that signs up as well. But on the Cacao Alchemy landing page, there is a list of suppliers there. The top supplier is Keith's Cacao. That is definitely the most potent cacao that I have tried so far, and I've tried many, like a cacao connoisseur. But also that's very widely known as one of the best sourced, because it's sourced through Keith, who has all done that guided by the cacao spirit, but also going out to individual families in Guatemala and to meet with them and to test the beans and see which ones actually meet a very high standard that he has in terms of the vibration. But there's also other suppliers there as well that will meet different budget needs, and I've only placed suppliers that I know are high quality. I'm working in the background at the moment, but I don't know how long that is, but I'm starting to look at beans myself at the moment to start bringing a cacao paste, a ceremonial cacao paste together, ground by my own fair hands. So I know exactly where it's come from, and know that it's totally in right relation with the indigenous people, that they're really, really getting a good level of money and acknowledgement back. So I'm working on that at the moment, but that's to be confirmed of when that'll be. It'll probably not be until the new year, but who knows? It might come sooner. But looking into that at the minute, because it feels like, for me, I can, source Keith's Cacao. I'm a Keith's Cacao practitioner, and I could be the middle person, but it doesn't really feel right for me to do that. I feel right. I'd rather be the middle person for the indigenous person, not for another middle person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And another aspect as well that I mentioned there is that if you can't get access to the ceremonial grade cacao in time for the course starting, you can try like getting a single source cacao paste. There's one from Indigo Herbs. I've also got a local supplier here as well that I can recommend. So it's not ceremonial cacao in terms of, it won't have the same levels of, say, anandamide and theobromine and things like that in it. They do tend to have a slightly higher caffeine level as well, which is slightly different from ceremonial cacao, but still it will be much, much better than, say, if you bought like a raw cacao powder, which will be all buzz and very little heart. So that's why some people think that cacao is very overstimulating, because they're getting the kind of more watered down version, if you will, or overprocessed version. And so what that means is that they've kind of mixed a bit with the coffee plantations and got more caffeine in it than the theobromine, and then that's why you get the buzzy, as I call it, which is a very scientific term. Yeah, so I can share that more in a list, and more specific ones as well when people sign up. But it is there on the landing page also. Yeah, thank you. So we're just at 3 minutes past 8. So I could just, with anyone want, one last question. Or we can close. I've got this feeling of just being a bit blissed out, really, which is always a good sign with cacao, even with not ingesting. Silence is golden. And if you do have any questions afterwards, then do get in touch. By email is usually best. I'll send an email out with this recording as well for everyone that has registered. And so don't feel like, right now I can't think of anything, but if something comes up, then do feel free. And for those of you that do join, I'm really, really looking forward to sharing this with you. It's been a dream for a long time. And I really want to see, it's like, the seeds spreading now into the world, which is really beautiful, and it feels very important to me to share it in a way that's very, authentic, authentic for me, but then also authentic for those that actually sign up and actually work through the course material and as I say, cultivate their own relationship with her, because that is what is a sustainable way of working, both for ourselves and our own energy bodies and our own physical bodies, but also in terms of, even if you were going to build a business, it's more sustainable if you do it bit by bit, steady, and it looks like there's all, and this is also the way of the feminine, which is also connected to Mama Cacao. It almost looks like on the surface that nothing's happening, but actually underneath a lot is happening, and there's a lot going on in the dream time as well, and the weaving of things together and the connections. So it's coming in and just, I've got this, I'm doing this with my hands, I'm like kneading and weaving. And that is what's going on underneath, and then all of a sudden there's this tapestry. All of a sudden it just appears as if from nowhere. So really it's connecting into that, and connecting into source, connecting into the mystery, and connecting into that unlimited resource, that unlimited well that we all have within ourselves. So thank you very much for joining. It's been a real pleasure to share with you all, and I hope to see some of you very soon. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.